In this video, we are going to look at solving equations with fractions and decimals. So to start with, we need to define multiplicative inverse. This means you switch the numerator and denominator of a fraction. If you have a mixed number, before you can switch the numerator and denominator, you must make the fraction improper. So let's try a few of these. 5/6, we are going to switch to 6/5. -8, remember we can always put a 1 in the denominator, so when we flip it, we're going to get -1/8. This last one, because it is a mixed number, our first step is to change it to improper. So 2 times 4 is 8, plus 3 is 11. So as an improper fraction, this equals 11/4. Now when we flip it to take the multiplicative inverse, that is 4/11. Alright, so when solving equations with a decimal, if it is being multiplied by the variable, you just need to divide the decimal. If it is a fraction being multiplied by a variable, then you are still multiplying, but you are multiplying by the multiplicative inverse. So let's try a few of these. 1.6k equals 3.2. So put the line down the equal sign. Remember, when the 1.6 and the k are next to each other, that means multiplication. So this means we are going to divide by 1.6. Cross these off. We have k equals 2. Alright, next one. Put the line down the equal sign. When we divide by -2.5, cross those off. This gives us -8.2, and that equals b. Alright, so here's a few fraction ones. So if we put the line down the equal sign, these are fractions, so we need the multiplicative inverse. Since the 3/8 is next to the a, we are going to flip the 3 and the 8 to become 8/3. And same thing on the other side. And now we are multiplying. So these cancel out. And now we have two fractions that we're multiplying. So remember from before, I like to simplify my fractions first. So the 12 and the 3 can both be divided by 3. So 3 becomes a 1, and the 12 becomes a 4. The 8 and the 40 can both divide by 8. So the 8 becomes a 1, and the 40 becomes a 5. So now I just multiply across. 4 times 1 is 4. 5 times 1 is 5. So a equals 4/5. Since 4 is smaller and it's in the numerator, we do not need to simplify this anymore. Okay, next one. The -6, remember we can always put a 1 in the denominator. Since the 4/7 is next to the w, this is the one that we are taking the multiplicative inverse. So 4/7 flips over to 7/4, so times 7/4 on this side. Now 1 and 7, we can't make those any smaller, but the 4 and the -6 we can. We can divide those both by 2, so 4 becomes a 2, and -6 becomes a -3. So now when we multiply across, we have 7 times -3 is -21, and then 2 times 1 is 2. Since -21 is in the numerator and it is bigger, this means we need to change it to a mixed number. So 2 goes into 21 10 times with 1 left over, and bring down that negative. So w equals -10 1/2. Okay, at this point, go ahead and stop the video and try these 4 questions. When you have them done, you can start the video again to see how I solved them, to see if your answer is correct. So go ahead and stop the video now. Alright, so at this point you should have all 4 of these equations solved. So if we start with this first one, we're going to divide both sides by 0.8. So 6.4 divided by 0.8 gives us an answer of 8. Okay, next one, we are going to divide both sides by 2.8. 2.8, cross those off. W equals -4.6. Okay, the next one we have a multiplicative inverse question. So we are going to change this to negative 8 over 7. Negative 8 over 7. These cancel out. We have x equals. All right, so I'm going to simplify. So the 7 and the 21 can both divide by 7. So we have 1. And we have, actually there's a negative there, so we have negative 3. And then negative 8 and 64 can both divide by 8, so we have negative 1. And we have 64 divided by 8 is 8. So negative 3 times negative 1 in the numerator gives us 3. And then 8 times 1 gives us 8. So our answer is 3/8. Alright, this last one, we first of all have to change the 5.5 into a mixed, or into an improper fraction. So that's going to give us 11 over 2. Okay, so we can get rid of that 5/2 for now, 5.5. And now we're going to flip our negative 3/4 into negative 4 over 3, so we can multiply that. Okay, so r equals, now the 2 and the negative 4, we can simplify that into a 1 and a negative 2. And the 3 and the 11 we cannot simplify, so we're just going to multiply across now. 11 times negative 2 is negative 22. 1 times 3 is 3. So since 22 is bigger than the 3, we need to change this back into a mixed number. And so 3 goes into 22 7 times. 7 times 3 is 21, so that means there's 1 left over. So we have r equals negative 7 1/3. Alright, so this is the end of the video. You can go ahead and stop it and highlight your notes.